trust you.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an awesome start to your weekend. I know it can be difficult when we're having this really bloody market for Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. Lots of people in yesterday's video saying, this is it. It's the bear market. We're dumping to all hell. Everything is dead. Alt season is over. Bitcoin to zero. Listen, if you've been around the channel for quite some time, we are accustomed to these types of moves in Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. You can actually see we did get back below $10,000 just for a little bit yesterday. We got all the way down actually to about $9,931. We have had a slight bounce since then, but the big question now is, are we done? Are we going to fill the CME futures gap? A lot of people said, you know what? Gaps are hocus pocus. They don't count. Well, now those same critics are coming out and saying maybe looks like we're going to fill the gap again. So we will go in and discuss that. But you have to keep in mind, guys, that as I'm making this video right now, we have the S&P 500 literally taking a massive plummet. You can see basically from top to bottom here, we are down over 5%. Now, 5% is a pretty big move for traditional markets. You have NASDAQ also dumping as I'm making this video. In fact, you have a veteran analyst that we've spoken about on this channel who recently came out and he said that he sold all his stocks, he sold all his Bitcoin. He thinks that this is the start of a major, massive depression, and yeah, he's just sitting in US dollars right now, which the question is that even safe? So big thing on people's mind right now is Bitcoin going to be looking for that V-shaped recovery? Well, we might not get that, and I'm going to explain to you why in just a bit. I also want to talk about whether or not I'm bearish. People think, because of yesterday's video that I'm all of a sudden a Bitcoin bear. I was more upset about the Ethereum gas fees. I think I tried to make that clear in the video, but I will go into my opinion on this. And just to kind of point it out, guys, I mean, having a look at this dump that we had right here, from top to bottom, we're looking at about a 20% move. From just the massive sell-off, only about 12% to where Bitcoin is sitting right now. We have literally seen 30%, 40%, 50%, and even 60% dumps within 48 hours for Bitcoin. So if you were shaken out by this move, you might be new to crypto, you might be a little overextended, but we'll get into that today. And hopefully after this, you will also be a crypto comrade and you will have eventually survived your first big crash. So we will talk about all that today if that sounds good to you. If you are not subscribed, definitely consider it. We do these every single day. And without further ado, we need to talk about the fact that if you lost a lot of money in the recent sell-off, well, you didn't lose as much as these guys. Jeff Bezos lost $9 billion, Elon Musk $9 billion, Mark Zuckerberg $4 billion, and Bill Gates $3 billion. So lots of people lost a lot of money in Bitcoin, in traditional markets. It was just a rough couple of days. It happens. You're just going to have to get used to it if you are, looking to invest in things like that, right? So that is basically what I wanted to say. Now, before we get into the main part of the video, Plan B, he comes out here and he says that he thinks this is just a test to shake out the weak hands that entered crypto recently. If you can't handle this, get out now. If you can, welcome to the club, okay? And you will get used to this, I'm sure. But he does say this will be the first dip that stays above 10K, and we will see a fast V-shaped recovery. Number one, we already dipped below 10K, so that's invalidated. And will we see a quick V-shaped recovery? Well, having a look right here, you could see that we actually we tried to get back above this sort of level that I had spoken about for quite some time, which was the previous resistance. You could see it still is acting as the resistance again. And we've been talking about this level for like over a month now, okay? And this is basically the level between the $10,300 and the $10,400 level. Now, this is going to once again become a very difficult level for Bitcoin to break above. I do believe that once we have a nice solid daily close above this level again, then we can actually become quite bullish, right? But having a look right here, if you just zoom out super quick, because I really think it's important to just zoom out and have a look at the big picture right here, you could see that we are still well above this trend line that I spoke about, right? Now, obviously, we're getting closer and closer to it, but we could fall down to about the $9,800, $700, $600 level right here and still potentially actually be bullish because we would be putting in a higher low, right? And as long as we can continue to maintain on this trajectory, then all is well in Bitcoin. And we had spoken about this. In fact, it's actually a little bit relieving, to be honest with you. Like, I know that short term, it sucks to see Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies drop like this, but it's actually nice to sort of get grounded and get back to that sanity level, because let's be honest, it was getting a little out of control. We had altcoins literally, I mean, a lot of the altcoins that we spoke about on the channel from a few months ago, we had coins up 10x, 20x. Some of them, if people had actually gotten into the early sales, were up, 50x. Yearn Finance did 1,000x, right? Absolutely insane, guys. But having a look right here, if you just have a look at the weekly, you can see that we are holding this trend quite well. This big dip right here was literally a result of the pandemic, right? That was when everybody was freaking out. And just to show you, looking at this red candle, I'll go from wick to wick if you want. That is only a 17.35%, and that's from top of the wick to the bottom of the wick. And you can see back here, I mean, we had massive candles back here, especially during the, crazy sell-off that we had in March. So really, for me to become bearish, like actually think like, oh no guys, this is really bad for Bitcoin, then I would say we'd have to close a candle below this trend line, which it hasn't so far. Of course, we're just starting the weekend. We'll have to see how the weekend does play out, but this is still technically on a bullish trend. We're still going up, right? This is what markets do. They go up, they go down. I still think Bitcoin could hit all-time highs by the end of this year. People think that's crazy, but sometimes it goes up like a staircase, down like an elevator. But at the end of the day, guys, it is still looking bullish. Now, the one thing that we do need to talk about is, can Bitcoin go lower in the short term? Well, look, I'm not saying we have to close the CME futures gap. In fact, I got a lot of people being very critical about me talking about the CME futures gap, saying like, oh, come on, we don't have to fill the gap. Well, look, guys, we're only a few $100s away from filling this gap. If we actually get back down here, all it takes is Bitcoin to just get down to the $9,720 level. And I actually think that that is extremely possible for Bitcoin to do. Are we going to do it? I'm not going to say yes, but I'm going to say it's very, very, very likely that we see Bitcoin at least wick down super quick just to close it. Maybe that it instantly gets bought back up and then we're right back up in the $10,000 levels, right? Now, on the other hand, you do have some big whales who are looking for even lower of a buy. Cole Gardner pointed out that Smart Money has their bids at around $8,800, right? He says, I expect the bottom will likely be around $8,800. So could we actually go down to $8,800? Well, why are they calling these levels? Let me just show you one of probably the simplest indicators you can look at, which is just the 200 moving average, right? This is one that we were utilizing a lot sort of last year and earlier when we were talking about whether or not the markets are bullish or bearish, right? So everyone's saying, oh, this is a bear market. Now, look, I understand where you're coming from if you're talking about, the fact that from, this peak right here, I don't know why I just did that, from this peak right here, down to here, down to here. Okay, technically we are putting in lower highs on the ultimate macro trend from the 20K, blast off top, right? Technically, okay, fine, I understand. But we're also putting in higher lows from the bottom to the top. And you can see right here, we are building a bit of a sort of an asymmetrical triangle, with the exception of this insane pandemic freakout where, all markets crashed. That was a black swan event. You can't really predict something like that, right? So that is why I don't really think that we are necessarily bearish. We could potentially still be consolidating. And also keep in mind that when you're generally above the 200 moving average on the daily, you are technically bullish, right? Markets are usually bullish. And you can see right here, even back during the massive rally that we had in 2017 that took us to all-time highs, we had crashes much bigger than what we just had today, guys. We only had a 20% at the worst peak from the top to the bottom. Look at some of these crashes that we had back in the day, from top to bottom here. This is a 43% crash, okay? Over here, this was in June of 2016. This was a 43% crash, roughly. Over here, in March of 2017, this was a 33% crash. Do you understand what I'm saying, guys? There have been lots of crashes, and if these types of movements freak you out, then I can honestly say you might be overextended in Bitcoin and altcoins and crypto in general, right? Just being honest, guys. I used to be the guy that was all in. I'm not all in on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. I'm mostly in on Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies because I believe that Bitcoin is going to outperform the dollar definitely long term, but short term, these need to be expected, right? And having a look over here, getting back to what Cole Gardner was saying about this, the whales having, a lot of accumulation around the $8,800 level. I honestly think that's because if we look at where the 200 moving average is right now, it's sitting almost exactly at $9,000. And usually when you have those big moves to the downside, right? Like when we had those original accumulations in the 300 zone, you do see the wicks come down and fill those key areas. So if Bitcoin, you figure maybe this is going to come over here, something like that. And then if Bitcoin was to come down here, there could be that quick wick, where it wicks down super quick and then bounces back off of it. And that's probably where they're trying to get their accumulation. Now, it is a very risky play. Could we see an $8,800 Bitcoin? Yes. Am I bearish? No. I'm not bearish, guys, and I'm sorry if that makes you angry. If you want to go watch a channel where, people think that Bitcoin is just going to absolutely burn to the ground, then maybe this isn't the channel for you. But I am not worried or freaked out by 20% dips, guys, 30% dips, 40% dips. Look, if we start, trending under this key moving average and Bitcoin gets down to like the $7,800 levels, and then we start putting in lower highs, then yes, then I will be like, hey guys, hold on a second here. This is getting out of control. But right now, healthy correction, and also not to mention, we have a lot going on in stocks right now. Stocks are still falling right now, pushing down on both of these right now. We saw gold falling as well, okay? There's a lot of things going on globally, and Bitcoin's safe haven asset isn't going to be achieved overnight. Bitcoin's only 11 years old. You know what I'm saying? Gold has been around for 5,000 years. You have to be patient. There are people literally in this space that buy an altcoin, and if it doesn't 5x that week, it's a scam. They're angry. They sell for a loss, right? Keep in mind paper losses versus actual losses. If you actually sell your crypto when it falls and you exit your position, then yes, you have actually lost your money. But if you hold and the price goes back up again, well, you still have your coins, right? What I have just recently done is I've been laddering in buys as Bitcoin has been going lower. I was able to buy some around the $10,400 level because that was a key level that I had been looking at. And if it falls lower, great. I still have some more fiat on the side to buy more Bitcoin, right? It's all about asset allocation. If you go all into one thing in general, like a lot of us had done in 2017, that is definitely where you run into those problems, right? So that's basically that situation, guys. Now, could be worse. You could have bought Hot Dog over on Uniswap. Hot Dog pretty much is down 100%, 99% basically. So, there's always a worst case scenario. I'm sure your portfolio got hit, probably didn't get hit as bad as someone who went all in on Hot Dog coin, right? Which is why in yesterday's video, I was saying that, some of the coins out there are not even if they are just blatant scams, they're just ridiculous. Like all these coins that are just based on like fruits and vegetables and stuff. But I still do believe that there are legitimate cryptos. And one of the big questions that people ask is, is alt season over? Are altcoins dead? Well, I think I've made it pretty clear on this channel, guys, that I definitely believe in Bitcoin. I hold Bitcoin. I will never sell all of my Bitcoin ever. Like if we get to like 100,000, will I like take some off the top? Sure, maybe. Probably. But, for me, altcoins are a vehicle to get more Bitcoin. But altcoins are extremely risky. You have to know this. Bitcoin is risky. Altcoins are like 25 to 30 times more risky than Bitcoin, right? And, having a look right here, one thing I do want to just point out super quick that also probably didn't help, I'll get back to altcoins in a minute, but I do want to talk about Bitcoin, is the fact that we did have miners basically sending a lot of Bitcoin out. So this really didn't help that on top of the media panic, the stocks going down, we also literally have Bitcoin miners trying to cover their costs, right? Because keep in mind, it costs these guys money to mine their Bitcoin. So they're not going to be mining Bitcoin at a loss. And if they have to look at their electricity bill, keeping their plant, keeping their farm, their Bitcoin mining farm operating, or mining at a loss, they're going to break even minimally. And they are selling their Bitcoin right now. So this is just part of the ebb and flow of the absolute Bitcoin game. But one thing I want to point right out here, this is the total crypto market cap. So this is actually, it looks very similar to the Bitcoin market cap, but it's actually Bitcoin and altcoins smashed together into one giant chart. And what we're looking at right now is the 21 exponential on the, excuse me, is it? Wait, I think this is the 21 exponential that I have. Yeah, it's the 21 exponential on the weekly, right? Now, I do consider this to be one of the most important lines to follow. The 21 exponential, usually you can see, when we go into a bull market, we tend to just kind of touch it and test it. And then once we fall below it, then it kind of starts to become the resistance, right? Same thing here. We started pumping. It started, that became our support. Then we got under here and then right here, we had a little bit of a fake out, but then it kind of becomes our resistance. And zooming in right here, you could see that right here. It's sort of been our support. And, that level is down around the $288 billion market cap. So having a look at now this is all cryptocurrencies in general. If we were at the level that we're at right now to fall down, that means that we could still potentially go another 8 to 9% on all of crypto. The total crypto cap could fall, 10% from this point, and we would still technically be in bullish territory. You see what I'm trying to say? So I understand that, when you see a move like this, you want to freak out. Nobody likes to see their portfolio go down. Nobody wants to lose money, right? But it's really only technically a loss if you sell. And also, we're still putting in higher lows. I mean, this candle literally would have to come basically all the way back down to about the $243 billion cap, really, before we can say, okay, guys, the trend has changed, right? So just wanted to point that out. And, one thing I wanted to mention too is Peter Brandt. Now he's a veteran crypto analyst. He's kind of not helping recently, right? He came out and said, personally, I exited almost all of my portfolio in the last 2 days, stocks, Forex, Bitcoin. So in process, moved all of my assets back into the home currency of the US dollar. But the thing is the US dollar even really a safe haven asset? Well, we know the answer is it's not. But the question is, would it be better to hold dollars? Now, I don't know what's going to happen, guys. Things could get crazy. We could have a resurgence, of the virus. It could come back. The economy could collapse. We could be shutting down stores and gyms and everything goes back to how it was and we go back to, solitary confinement again. That could happen. Nobody knows that. I don't know that. You don't know that. Maybe you know that. I don't know. But you can see right here, the U.S. national debt is on set to basically have a new record that hasn't been touched since the end of World War II. Assuming current policies remain in effect, debt in the United States will be larger than its economy by 2021. So in the wake of the pandemic crisis of 2020, federal outlays were more than 32% of GDP, while revenues were just 16%. Interestingly, while these statistics seem frightening, Congress continues debating another massive stimulus bill. Democrats have stonewalled the Republican offering of $1 trillion, calling it not enough, and instead seeking $3 trillion. So, guys, when you look at the policies and you look at what they're planning on doing with more of these stimulus packs injecting more money, you have Jerome Powell coming out saying 2%, we're going to do 4%. We're going to, you know what I'm saying? You have to weigh the pros and the cons. So moving forward, if you're going to stay in this space, you need to be comfortable with these types of moves, but also realize if you want to exit out of the space, cool, you get to keep your dollars, but your dollars are going to lose purchasing power over the course of pretty much indefinitely, right? I mean, lots of people, they say, oh, your house is an asset. But is it though? I mean, think about it. By the time you're done actually paying all the interest, usually you don't pay it off for 20 to 30 years. You're usually paying 3 times the amount of your house anyway. And then by the time you go to sell it, it is, it's more dollars, but what can you do with those dollars, right? So that is basically just a quick summary of the crypto markets. And guys, we're pushing down still as we speak. I'm not surprised to see this. Like I said, do look for some of those lower levels. Bitcoin looks like it could possibly just be emulating what we're seeing in the stocks right now. So that's the situation. If you're freaked out, not financial advice, get out. Literally, just get out and sit in dollars, and then when you're comfortable to get back in, get back in. That's totally up to you. But, you can't blame people. You can't blame other guys on Twitter, other traders, your friends. Look, guys, I try my best. We had some amazing calls in the past 2 months, but now we're having a little bit of a correction. It happens, okay? So that's enough about basically the Bitcoin and cryptocurrency aspect of it. Now, in yesterday's video, we were talking about Ethereum gas fees, which actually, by the way, are down. They're actually down today, which is good. I guess that's one positive of everything. Nobody's trading on Uniswap right now, I guess. But Binance is actually delving deeper into the world of DeFi-style products with their latest offerings. So, obviously Binance couldn't sit on the sidelines while, Uniswap and Mooniswap and all these guys were getting all the action. So now they're basically going to launch an automated market maker called Binance Liquid Swap. The question is, will you use it? Well, aimed directly at Uniswap and its clones, Binance will launch an AMM liquidity pool that allows users to provide liquidity by depositing tokens. It's the first AMM pool product on a centralized exchange, and it will be integrated into the Binance.com exchange, allowing users to pool tokens into their wallets and earn rewards. Earnings will be accrued with a corresponding 7-day annual percentage yield, which returns converted into the assets into the respective pools. Transaction fees and prices will be determined by the number of assets in the liquidity pools. So, I don't know, guys. Let me know what you think. I mean, do you think that Binance will sort of be able to solve this problem if it becomes centralized? Will that help? But then doesn't that kind of go against everything that we're trying to do, right? Or will it be decentralized? I don't know, guys. That is that situation. But I just wanted to point out one thing before we go. And this is what Michael Van Pop had to say. Now, he is a full-time trader. I do follow him on Twitter. He's a full-time trader at the Amsterdam Stock Exchange. And he says that he does believe that Bitcoin could potentially be forming its bottom formation. Now, obviously, we do have the CME futures gap, right, which is a possibility. But he says that he's expecting a period of consolidation, a drop in the market, but he says that he doesn't think that alt season is over yet. He says, in my opinion, we're close to the bottom formation on Bitcoin in these regions that are confluent with the CME futures gap. Trade the bounces actively as AHL has to construct for confirmation support. He says crazy alt season continues in the coming months. And honestly, what I think will happen is I think that we might see a bit of a shakeout of, not even a shakeout, but, a lot of these kind of like vegetable tokens that have been coming out, which have been pretty ridiculous. You're probably going to see them not really have the traction that they had. And I do think some of the more legitimate projects that come out that, like the traditional projects that are actually solving real problems, not farming vegetables, are probably going to continue to see nice rallies after we get out of this phase. But keep in mind, we do need to see Bitcoin get that nice little bottom, right? One project actually that I mentioned over on Twitter, if you guys follow me on Twitter, it's at the CryptoZombie, is Utu. Now, this isn't out yet. You can't go buy this or anything, so it's nothing like that. But, this is like, for example, a project that's actually solving a real world problem, which is basically sort of, trust in the sharing economy. So you guys have, I'm sure, used Amazon or bought things online, right? And sometimes these reviews, they're very biased. Sometimes they're bot views. Sometimes they're paid reviews. Sometimes they're, you can't really trust them. And I do think that it's really interesting because as good as the internet is in our modern day, our sort of way of reviewing things is broken. Like, I'll give you an example, right? I used to own a business. I used to own a car wash, actually, years ago. And, when we would give people car washes, if it was a great car wash, right? We'd never get a review. No one would ever leave us a review on Google. But if it was a bad, or their car got scratched or something happened, which was very, very rare, instantly bad review, 1 star, these guys are terrible, don't go to their car wash. You know what I'm trying to say? A lot of things happen when people eat out too. Right? So restaurants and these services industries, they tend to get a ton of negative reviews because no one really is incentivized for the positive reviews. Whereas then when you go on things like Amazon or even movie reviews, right? You have like these like critics that are like paid to I've seen movies that have like 100% ratings that are like terrible. They're horrible, right? So essentially what these guys are going to do is basically create more of like that trust economy. How they're going to do it, now that's interesting, but basically they're trying to tokenize trust as a currency. So it's really going to be interesting to see what these guys have to do. I will keep my eyes on them. Like I said, right now it's like super early. It's just been slightly put on my radar, but I will keep you guys updated on that. But let me know what you guys think anyway, besides that about, Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies. Let me know how you feel. I'm sure it's been rough these past few days, but that being said, guys, we know that this is just what happens, right? The only thing is obviously remembering what is happening in the traditional markets and, keeping our eyes on that, right? Obviously, if we have the global pandemic resurgence, that could affect everything again, and that would just be a black swan event. So thank you again for coming back to the channel. I love you guys. Thank you for your support. Every day can't be a green day, but look, long term, we know where this thing is going. Thanks again. Drop a comment if you want a ledger. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you so much for coming back to the channel. You guys rock. You're the reason that I do this every single day. Bull, bear, indifferent, you know that. Thank you so much. You guys rock. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.